Or cool. Okay. So I believe we won't have Sienna, so that's why I'm recording. Oh yeah, they left much earlier, didn't they? Soccer. Okay, go ahead and open up your array sets. We're going to do a handful of things today. So we're going to finish our array set. Start motoring through markers here. Guessing half these don't. We're going to handle exceptions, which we sort of have looked at in a few different places, but we're going to learn how to do them today, and then we're going to do iteration. But we're going to learn how to do iteration in a totally different way. Okay. So is this what folks have for their set interface?
Yeah.
Okay. What's problematic about this? So, what do you mean? What's an issue with this?
We didn't build the methods.
Okay, so, but do we need to in our interface? Let's just look at the interface. What's the problem when we go to implement these things? What's going to be, what issue are we going to run into? Anything? Did people go ahead and implement these things? Good. What did you have to do in your implementation? Go ahead and share your code. So there's something we can do to our interface that's going to make our lives considerably simpler and make Java generally happier. Okay, so okay, that's your interface. Cool. Go to your array set. Okay, so you didn't try to run this thing? So throw in a main method and try to make an array set of something. You should be testing your code. So even if we're not writing JUnit tests, your code is not done until you've tested it. Okay, so you should have a main method at least. If we're not, ideally, would we use JUnits? Yes, we would, but right now we're not going to. But you should go ahead and, well, first of all, your contains doesn't, oh, you didn't write any methods. Stop. You didn't write any methods.
Yeah, I don't have them.
Okay, so you did not finish. Okay, did anyone actually try to write real methods for this? Did anyone get there, Alex?
Was this the class that I missed before break?
I don't know. I don't keep track of what classes you miss, Alex. That's not my job.
We made that.
What? I don't know. You tell me.
Get this part? Like,
What's up?
all I had when I opened up the array set was just size, and that's it.
Okay, so we didn't get, okay, so let's step back then. Okay. Sorry, I thought I had assigned you guys to actually try to finish this thing. Apparently not. So that's my bad. So go ahead and stop sharing. And of course, I've lost T115. Did anyone actually do the methods or not? Okay, so I must not have assigned that piece. That's fine. So if we look at our set interface, can we imagine what problem? Go ahead, actually, no, go for it. Just write contains. I think we talked through contains for sure. And then we talked about add, right? Because what can we do with add? If we have, well, it's a set, right? So if we add, let's say if we go through and we say add 1, add 2, add 3, add 1, what's in the set?
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
1 is already in there.
So let's think about which method should we probably write first? Contains, right? Because what can we do then when we do add?
Checking if it contains.
If it contains it, don't add it. Right, so we'll you write your contains method first, or at least try. Keep not. My screen, so I have lost, Tony, what'd you do with T115, man? I'm joking. It no longer is giving me the option to hook up to my own board, which is slightly frustrating. I could try Apple TV, but I don't think this is my Apple TV. So when in doubt, that. Oh, I wonder. That would probably be why. But how is that connected first? All right, try again. There we go. Okay. I may not give control to anyone else because, okay. So if we think about contains, what might we need to deal with? Or add?
Going through the set. To see if it has, like, checking each value.
Okay.
Wait, Mr. McConnell?
Yeah.
Are we doing generic type array?
What do you mean?
Because we're checking it into an object, so
Yeah.
it should be generic, right?
What should be generic?
Like the elements of the array,
How do we get that to happen?
instance variable.
We just make them generic, like, different types of different.
Where?
In the class.
Here.
I'm the very top do the, like.
So in the array set?
Yeah.
Nothing's up to interested.
Or
What about our interface?
Maybe it's the-
What if I have this add object X, what do I have to do? If I'm actually overriding this, what will the method look like in my class? What does it have to look like if it's an override?
The same exact.
So it has to say add object X. Do I want to be adding objects?
Not necessarily.
What do I have to do if I'm adding objects and containing objects and dealing with objects? Not quite wrap. It's the word I'm looking for.
generic.
Cast. I have to cast it as whatever I'm trying to do. So wouldn't it make much more sense to do this generically? And make that this, and then I can add object or T X or TT, whatever you want to do here, right? And that keeps me from having to cast. That's going to make my life much easier. Okay. So in the array set, what is the signature going to be for my class then? Public class,
Array set T,
array set, brackets T,
implements,
implements,
set interface.
set interface,
Brackets T.
T. Okay, yep. And then we're just going to do a generic. We're not going to do any resizing for this one, just for this example, okay? We're just going to make an array of 16. What kind of array is it?
Generic.
So it's a T array, right? So we're going to have two instance variables. We're just going to have size. We're going to keep track of that. And we're going to have our T array. Okay, so we got array set T implements set interface T. Ooh, gotta get rid of all these things. Oh, no, I don't. And remember that when you implement, again, you can just hover over it. If you, and then it's going to give you an underline under this thing and saying, hey, you don't implement add and contains. So you hover over the line and it'll throw in the overrides for you like this. Yes? Yeah. Okay, so try and write add and contains. See how we get. You need to check it. Yep. So public array set, and then we have that tricky thing with the T array, because what can't we actually make an array of? Yeah, you can't make a generic array. Java doesn't let you do that. Does anyone remember what this one's a little bit weird. Does anyone remember what the syntax is for finishing this T array?
T array equals new object, cast as an object. T array.
Other way around, because what type of array is it going to be?
A T.
We want it to end up being a T array.
We cast it as a T.
Cast it as a T, it's going to start as a, what type of an array? An object array. Yep. So all our construct, and then what do we want to do with size? If we're not passing any parameters to our array set, it's empty to start. Size equals 0. Do we actually have to do that? Why not? Because it is 0, right? So we don't actually have to do that. But this array, we're cast it as a T, new object, we're just gonna make 16. Cool, good job. We're gonna write contains first, and then add. Add is, don't make add complicated. Right, contains is a little tricky. What do we have to do with contains just generically? Generically, yeah. Right. To where? Just let's think about our for loop. To where are we going to? End of what?
Yeah.
The end of the array?
No, like, two sides.
To size. I don't have to check the entire array. It's an array of 16. I add one thing. I only need to check one thing. How do I know that I only have one thing? Size. Right? So in my contains down here, we obviously know what size the size method should be. We'll go right here, see if I can do this sort of sneakily. So I'm going to have for I equals 0, I is less than size, I plus plus. Any issues on the rest of that method? Questions on the rest of that method? In your interface, they don't need to be public, and they shouldn't be public, actually. It'll tell you not to make them public. It's an interface, so it is redundant to have it be public. Cool.
That how I can add.
No, remember, this is our thing. We were building this from scratch. There is no add. Add is add. As the ad we're building. Just think about where you want to put. Now we have the underlying array. So just think about where you want to put each item.
Are we putting?
We're only putting them at the end.
At the end? Okay.
Only at the end, because it's a set. We don't care. Sets, interestingly, our sets sort like our does it yeah.
Right, this. Add, just at the end. Put it,
Now think about that space. You can do what you're doing, just think about where that is in relation.
I'm seeing a lot of this. Like, check customer size, and then it's array.
Yeah, again, I would have written contains first, because you need it for your add method. You need contains for add.
This will not.
Yep.
If I like, if I change the type of like the parameter to like T, it tells me I'm not overraying.
Then you must not have changed it in your interface.
I did.
Question mark? Well. Okay. Okay, and then. Where is it telling you that you're not? Back to set of this. Being your set interface. Read. Look at your set interface. Yep.
For the contains method, when you were checking if it's equal to the thing, like, you can't use the equal sign, right? So,
No, you cannot use equal sign, equals equals.
yeah, like, you cannot use equals, but because there also be like cases where it's like strings or other.
Well, it'll almost, well, we're using, yeah, it'll almost always be things other than, what, can it even be a primitive? Can we ever use equals equals?
No,
Why not? Why can't it be a primitive?
it was an object. It's not.
What, so this is important. This is actually a really important point. Why can this not, Why can't I make an array of ints or booleans, small b?
Things are not objects.
Yeah, this has to be, the generic type has to be an object. It has to be a reference type. So it has to be dot equals.
Should we?
What does that mean for our array set? Depending on, so, because we're gonna have to, if we're doing strings, does strings have a dot equals method?
Yeah.
Do integers probably have a dot equals method? Big I, probably, yeah, probably is the right
Should
answer.
we import that all that stuff?
Not yet, nope. You will in a minute. If you want to now, you can. Not iterator, just hash set and set. So no, don't actually. All right, so we have to use public boolean contains. We're gonna iterate through if array I dot equals X, return true, else return false. Yes? And then what are we doing again with our add method? Well, how do we use contains in our add method?
Like, check,
How do we do that?
if it-
Okay, so so you're gonna say if it contains it, just return, okay?
Yeah.
And then what?
then array size equals X.
Okay, why are we adding its size?
That's the last,
This is
that's the last.
yeah, it's like the last,
Cause, well, I did size plus one, but since it starts at 0, that's the second, that's after the last one.
Right, that makes sense to everybody, right? Our first index is 0, we've got nothing in it, we're gonna add at size, there's nothing in there. Once we have one thing in there, size goes to 1, that would also be the index, first index that's empty. So next time through, we're gonna add at that. You do have to make sure that we do what with our add or it won't work? Size plus plus, increment size, or else you'll end up just adding things the first place the whole time. And that's it. So if contains X, return, array at size equals X, size plus plus. Cool. Do a main method, build an array set. Make sure this is an array set. Add some things in there. You're a resident, you got figured it out?
yeah. Probably two, but yeah.
Let's make it, what do we want to make it of? Strings, integers? Doesn't really matter. Do strings or integers for right now. Yeah, I think I did strings. So just do an array set of strings. Try adding a duplicate, right? That's something you should test, at least in our little mini testing environment of our main method, which is not awesome, but that's okay. So add like 4 things, make 1 duplicate. And then at the end, what should we test?
Like,
Contains, we should make sure that we, if we check contains, it actually says true for one of the things we contain. And we should check size, right? Just go ahead and do some print statements with contains and size. Just one array set. You built your add method. We should just have one array set. And then how do I add something to array? Dot add, right? I built it right here. I'm going to add. So I'll add a couple of strings. Whoops. What did I just do? So I added this is a this. What's my size? Come on, folks. What's my size here? Should be 3. I've got to double this, so I shouldn't do that. I should print array.size, and I said contains A, which should return, hopefully, true. And if I run this thing, for some reason, my IntelliJ has been slow today. Okay, I got 3 and true. Cool. Tell me when we're there. Give me a thumbs up when we get to some point where we've done our little basic tests here. Good, 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 good. Take a look.
So go up to your.
Okay, if there's that's
Oh, I see.
Start scrolling down. Difference, yep, keep going. Isn't this the else statement? Go ahead and, use your, do you have the visualizer here? Visualize it, and see. I'm sure there's something I'm simple on this. You can share it if you want to, I'm sure someone else will catch it. We'll just go in there. This is the track stuff. But it's just not committing at all. So step into one of those ads. It's going to step into that. If it contains, oh, it's that one that already contains. It doesn't. Rerun that, sorry. Yeah, and then step into that one. Doesn't contain.
Or is it? And the empty construction.
Okay,
will
go
start
through.
with that, it's a size 0. Every time you add something, you can put it size.
Oh, you're never getting. Sorry, go back and do that again. Something's wrong. You know what I'm doing. With your ad. Okay, hang on. So step into that. Okay, and then just start stepping through. Don't step into it. Step. Yeah, I'm sorry. You should go into return. Your contained method is wrong for some reason. It's not. Oh, there you go. Yep.
For some reason. I'm not sure my. It's like. Red.
Because you can include it with your erase settings, not the erase setting here. And I.
Thank you.
Ethan, we good?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break it now. Okay, add null first. What do we think's gonna happen here?
Well,
Is
first
it
it's gonna
good?
check if it contains null,
It's gonna check if it contains null.
an empty constructor. Won't that be-
What is our array made up of right now?
Objects.
You compare.
What- What's in there? What's in our array?
Strings.
Nulls. There's nothing in them. So they're all nulls. So,
Contains, it's gonna say.
contains is gonna say,
No, you can't use no dot.
No.
okay, so is it the dot, you think the dot equals is gonna throw
It's not even gonna compare.
okay, so let's look at this sucker and see. So first I'll just run it. We are going to throw an error. The funny thing is a little bit where the error gets thrown. So it's gonna give me an exception here, cannot invoke dot equals. All right, well done, Tony. Right? So we're gonna go step into this thing, we're gonna debug it. And we're going to, come on. Is anyone else's IntelliJ being stupidly
Yeah.
slow? Okay. It must be,
Sometimes
It's the same thing for me.
it's weird. Okay, so if I look into the visualizer, okay, I'm gonna step into this thing. So I've got, if I scroll up here, okay, I got a whole thing of nulls. So let's step into, where am I now? Add null, okay? So I go to add null, I'm checking the add, no problem there. Okay, I'm gonna go through, I return size. Oh, look at that. So actually, the funny thing here is Whoops. What did I just do? Okay, contains returns false. Okay, no problem there. What am I putting in here?
Right,
Array at 0 equals null size plus plus. Did I just add null to this thing? I did.
but size still 0.
Size is 1 because I added something in the null spot. I added null in the null spot.
That still counts as like a.
Well, so that's going to be a little bit the trick. Okay, and we'll look at what that means in a second. So the adding of null, does that give us a problem? Nope, it doesn't. Okay. And why didn't it do the dot equals there? What was the size of my array? 0. Did I have anything to compare to? Nope. So it added null just fine. The second time through, when it goes to add this, now we're going to run into trouble. It's to say, okay, does it contain this? And there, I just skipped over it. It does the dot equals, and what is it comparing? What is it comparing it to? No, and it can't do that. Okay, so that's where we run into trouble. So what do we need to do here? We have a couple of different options. One is that when we add, what might we do? Yeah, check if X is null. So we could do something like if X equals null. Can I use equals here? This is the place you want to use equals because that's what I'm doing. Okay. If X equals null, what could I do here? Just return. Say, hey, and what would I want to do in my, what would I want to do for a doc string here? I want to make a nice, clear comment to my users that what? You can't add null. Okay, something along those lines. Hey, don't add null. Okay, because what's going to happen if I try to add null in here?
The second round, will compare it to something that isn't null.
Not here.
Oh, in the add method.
In my new add method, what's going to happen if I add null?
Well,
It's going to ignore your null. It's going to ignore your attempts to add null, right? So now when I run this thing, it's going to run just fine. There we go. But maybe that's not what I want to do because we're going to look at a couple of other things we could do. Jackie, can I put you on the spot?
Yeah.
What's another option here if I want to be more clear with my user?
Like when you're adding null,
Yep.
you can throw like a exception.
Yeah. Okay. What does that mean?
So basically, kind of like a error sometimes, like when you add like a null, it says you can't do this, and it kind of like I think it stops the program as well.
Yeah. So we're going to use some fun keywords here. We're going to throw. And when we throw this, this is an object. So what keyword do we need to use after throw? New. And it gives it to me. Illegal argument exception. Now, the fun thing with this illegal argument exception is I can do you can't add nulls here. Okay. And now when I run it, why do I have got the weird nomenclature there? Now when I run this thing, it's going to give me a different error message. It's going to be similar to the one that I saw a minute ago when I tried to add null and I got to the other place. But now it's going to hit it with the add method. It's going to say you can't add nulls here. Now we know how to actually throw our own error messages. Now there are ways. Have you ever done tries and catches and all those things?
I've done it in Python, not in Java. Yeah.
So we'll somewhere down the road we'll learn how. Now what's one problem with this? If you got a million things and there's some nulls in there, what's a problem? Do we really want our program to hang up at a null? Not really. We don't want the program to break at a null. So we've got this nice illegal argument exception. However, down the road we'll learn how to like deal with those inside of the program while still throwing the error. Yeah.
Can we like make it a warning instead of an exception or something?
No. So we have two. Right now, our basic choices are to return and just not deal with nulls. 2 is to throw this error. We could do something and make our we could make this null proof in the sense that we could allow it to add nulls. Okay, and to believe it or not, if we look at, let me see if I can get us to where I want to be. Let's come over here. We're gonna go over here. Okay, so this is our code that we already have all this. Okay. No, where did we go? No, not gonna have it. Okay. So another way of, hang on for a second, just, I didn't want to do that. All right, bummer. It's not in there. Shoot. Okay. So Java, if we look at here, ready? Let's see if I can grab what I want. Java docs set. So if you go, you can go look at the entire code for set. No, I want the actual code for set. Oracle set.
Is there like an official Java website?
Yeah. This isn't it. It's not what I want either. And I have access to it, but I just can't lay my hands on it right now. Shoot. Okay, but essentially what Java allows you to do is add nulls. Okay, what we're going to deal with for right now is we're just going to throw this exception. Okay, throw new illegal argument exception. And we're just going to leave it at that. Okay, for right now. So if you try to add null in here, but the point is that's how we deal with exceptions. And you do need to think about this because when you go grab a huge data set, is it possible that there'll be nulls in there? Yeah, right. If you've ever worked with big data sets, there'll be nulls in there. And so you have to think about how to make your code null safe, essentially. Okay. The simplest way to do this probably would just to be to return and ignore the nulls. But if we do that and we're building, if we've got a list of 1 million and we just ignore the nulls and we make it into a set and we've got, 50,000 nulls in a set of 1 million, we just change the respective sizes of our two data structures. So we might want to be able to add nulls back into our set. Yeah.
It's a set and it has only unique elements. Can we add another null?
Yeah, because they're nulls. It's not
They don't count as like a
Yeah, that's another reason why just doing returns or throwing an argument, like throwing this is better. Because, yeah, right? Because if you think about the data structure as it is, what's in there?
nulls.
Nulls. So nulls are a little bit different.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So now what we want to do is tackle iteration. Okay, so we're gonna do something a little bit different here. We're going to, in your main method, we're going to do an actual set. So set, we'll do integers. We'll make it an I set. I don't know why. Equals new. And then what kind of set can I make this? Does it have to be a hash set? I could do a hash or a tree set. You're almost always going to use hash sets. Okay. So we're going to make it a hash set. And here is where Daniel will run into the fact that it's going to say, hey, it's going to light up red for set. You don't have set in there. Hover over it. And you have to, or we could just go up to the top and do java.util.hashset. Now, to be clear, just so you all know this, one way of doing this, I'm going to get rid of set here. Ready? Right? So I'm going to comment out set. And I'm going to come down here. And I've got this set right here. Guess what I could do right here to make this work? Nope. What's the import statement? Java.util.set. This is what you're essentially doing. Nope. But I don't personally want to type out java.util.set every time I do a set. If you're doing it once, who cares?
I was gonna ask, you have to do that every time if you don't import it?
Yep, that's why you import it. I could do the same thing over here with hash set. I could do it with anything I import. I could put in, if it's coming from java.util, java.util. Whatever, right? Not really what I want to do.
Always java.util or ever?
Nope. It can be all sorts of different things. Think about our JUnit tests, right? Totally different. That doesn't come from java.util. Most of the things that we'll deal with within Java are going to come from java.util. You can do a java.util star. Everything, bad idea for a whole host of reasons. So don't do it, but you can. Okay. Could I theoretically make both sides of this a set? Could I make this, or sorry, hash set? Could I say hash set? Set equals, whoops, new hash set? Why would I do it this way as opposed to that way? Yeah, it's the interface. So again, as we've been dealing with for the most part, we're better off most of the time having the static type be the interface. Okay, gives me more options when I mess around with this thing. So now we can just to add some things. Set.add, I don't know, one. I'm going to make Fibonacci just because my mind's on Fibonacci now. The funny thing is, will it give me Fibonacci? Why not? Because it's a set. I can't do that. The point of this is that I can do this now. How do I do an enhanced for loop or a for each loop?
Or int one thing, colon.
Set.
Boom.
What is the difference between inverse time or the for each loop and the main loop?
That's a good question.
They're both end.
There shouldn't be, well, actually, you're gonna see in a minute what actually is underneath the hood for the for each loop, because we've never seen it before, but we're gonna see that in a second. So now when I run this thing, I should have a nice little printout of 1, 2, 3. Boom, there we go. Okay. And if I wanted to be fancy, I could do this online, which would probably be nice here, right? Print I plus a space, yeah, exactly. And that'll be just a little bit nicer visual. Whoops, not if I don't include. I didn't catch it. Yeah, this should not take 5 seconds to run. Yes, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and try that for each loop with your array set. Right. So up here, I'm going to say for, what is this thing? This is a string S in array S. See what happens. So
It does like hash that just like automatically just like sort all the elements for you. Okay, it's weird because my hash that kind of like sorts all of the elements.
Yeah. It says,
when you print it,
Yeah.
when I'm trying to run it, says for each not applicable to the expressions.
yep, there we go. For each is not expressible to application type. So our goal in the next, how long do we have? 120, 30? Perfect. Our goal for the next 30 minutes is to make this work. The for each loop. Okay. And so we need to learn a handful of things.
I don't understand why is it not working here?
You tell me.
Oh, because we can only do arrays.
Nope. This is a hash set. Down here, we just did it with a hash set.
We can't do,
We just did it with a hash set.
or no,
We can't do it with an array set.
oh,
What do anyone want to hazard a guess what we might be missing? Yeah.
Is it because string is a primitive type? Well, not a primitive type. What's it called? It's not like a T.
No, string is a T, actually. Strings are really weird middle grounds, but it's a capital S string. It is an object. So it's not, we could put an integer, it would still not work. It's not because of the type.
This is because
All right, I don't expect anyone to have any clue on this one, okay? What we're gonna do first is we're going to learn how to write sort of ugly iteration, okay? So we're gonna come back over here. Got our enhanced for loop. We just talked about this. This is our for each loop. Okay. Again, for each not expressible to expression type. Okay, here we go. If we what is he doing here? He's done this really weirdly. All right, have to show it to you over here. So we're gonna write ugly iteration. We're gonna get rid of this for loop for right now. Everyone comment this one out. Bam. Does everyone know how to do multi-line comments? Command / give you multi-line. Sure. Okay. So we're gonna also comment out this one. Okay. And now we're gonna do something a little bit ugly. Okay. We are going to do this. We're going to say iterator. Guess what I have to put in the next piece of this thing? Sort of tells me right in this call line. Well, can't put T, no. E, which is the same idea as T, but I have to specify it, right? And what am I doing this? I'm going to do this with my set down here. So what do I have to put in there? Integer. I want to iterate through my integers. Okay. We're going to call it the same thing he did, which is seer equals new iterator. No, not new iterator. Sorry, we're not making new yet. We're saying, oops, hang on. Sorry, we're going to call set.iterator. Okay. So we've introduced this new idea of an iterator. And we've got a capital I iterator over here, and we got a lowercase I iterator over here. Whoops. What does that mean for us? There's both an interface, capital I iterator or class, as well as some sort of method iterator. Okay. Now we're going to say while seer, there's two methods in here, and it actually tells us what they are. Guess what the first one is? Has next. While seer has next. And then we're going to grab that thing, right? Because when we did this, what we want to do is make sure we have that integer. Okay, so we're going to say int I equals seer dot next. And then in my next line, just like we did up here, what do we want to do now? Print on. And actually, I'm just going to grab that line. I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it. Oops. I have that S in there. All right. This is ugly iteration. So let's try it. We have iterator seer equals set. That's this object here, dot iterator. While seer dot has next, int I equals seer dot next, print out I. We're going to run this thing.
Like the sensible next stuff, like
No, it's kind of similar, but not quite. And I get 1, 2, 3.
Has next and next are both methods in iteration.
Exactly. So the two methods that I need to implement inside of my iterator are has next and next. Yep.
We need a, I mean, we need a import iterator.
Not here. We do not. I don't think so. Do you?
My iterator method is red.
yeah, this is, I don't have any errors.
You should. Iterator set dot iterator. No, should work. Did you import it, Dana?
No, I just have iterator brackets integer seer.
Oh, you did it. Get rid of your import up top, just right now. You know what I mean? And then go back down.
Oh wait, it imported it for me.
Oh.
Wait, what?
I didn't manually import it.
Iterator. So implement it. So
I
go ahead and
just-
get
copies
iterator.
there. I didn't even. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and implement iterator, or sorry, import
It's
iterator.
like checking. for next.
Why do we not
You're gonna see if there's the next one, but next. Dot next. Go to next one.
Oh, because you're doing it in array set. Make sure that this is the hash set.
It's like.
It should be set.
Dot iterator. Go up a little bit. Hash set set. Oh, you had them both called set. Make one of these called something else.
Oh,
You
okay.
see what this is I set. Here you were kept adding to your original.
I see.
You're trying to do it.
Just
yours.
respond.
Yep.
So Hasnext is checking if there's a next one, and then dot next is just going to the next.
Not quite. So, right, so what do we assume? So Seer has next looks and says, hey, is there something here? Right? And then what do we think next does? It returns that number, but then it clearly does what? Increments. It does two things, right? And that's where the visualization that I was shooting for here is. Okay, so we have our iterator, okay? And when we go through, this code is exactly the same as this code. Java.iterator or javaset.iterator while has next int x equals seer.next, print x. So what this looks like is we have, this is our seer, okay? And first thing that the seer does is has next looks and says, is there anything here? I think has next is a little confusing because I always think it's looking to the next thing. It checks the first thing. Right? Does it have like pretend? I think the seer should be over here and says has next, but whatever. Seer is looking down and says has next. Okay, the answer is true, right? So then I go to when I do, why is it? That's ugly. So next, okay, it does two things. One, it returns this number and then moves our seer forward. Oh, there it is. Wow, that was weird. Okay, so we return 5, we move forward. Seer have next?
Yep.
Yep. So when I go to next, it's going to return 23 and move to 42. Okay. And then when I get to 42, I call next, true, return 42,
Now it's.
move forward. Now I no longer have next and I'm done. I'm false. And I'm out of the loop.
Why isn't it called like as first?
Alright.
As here.
Whoever wrote Java has a different sense of next than I do.
Oh, it's funny, I was saying, this does not exist.
Which package doesn't okay, so you are trying to do that. I'm guessing scroll up and you're doing the same thing that slow down. No. Good. Very slowly go up to the top of your main method.
Oh, you already such a process.
So now start going down. Okay, raise, that's that. Give yourself a space there off of this. You want me? And left, did your 4 each one work?
Yeah.
Yeah. You put in new, get rid of new. Please, it's not new, it's, you don't need that. Very good. Yep.
In IntelliJ, when I, under my while, like my while word,
Mhm.
there's like the yellow squiggly line, and it tells me that it can be replaced with an enhanced form.
It can't yet. Well, no, I mean, yeah, it can, right? Because what did we do? What did I tell you specifically that we're doing? This, we're making an ugly version of this. So it's going to tell you, yeah, there's a better way of doing this. Because there is a better way of doing this, right? So it is the enhanced for loop done in a really ugly way. Okay? We're actually pulling apart the enhanced for loop because this is all the enhanced for loop does. Right, because we can't do it for array sets. You can't use an enhanced. Well, get rid of the for each loop first. Cannot store object array, is this stuff array? No, that's fine. No, where did you start having trouble? Comment on your contains.
Here.
Let's go to your add method. I'm gonna have to look in a second. I'm not fairly sure what's going on there.
Is your comment? For some reason, it says missing.
Actually, Jack, do you mind helping me with,
Missing return.
yep,
I don't know why.
well, then, because your return falls isn't in the right place. So, it contains that return fall isn't where it needs to be.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
It worked.
Okay, so here's what we need to do to get this thing to work. Okay, clearly what do we need? What methods do we need to make iteration work in our array set?
Has next, iterator.
Has next and next inside of an iterator. Yes? Okay, so this is going to look a little funky. Okay, but what we really want to do is have those things work. Okay. So we're going to skip ahead a little bit here. We need an iterator method. Okay, it returns an iterator thing. So let's think about that first of all. So if I have an iterator method that returns an iterator thing, what's that going to look like? Iterator method that returns an iterator thing. Public. What am I returning? An iterate, capital I iterator. We'll make it a T. Okay. And what's the method name? Iterator. Okay. And this is a little bit weird, but we need to think about what we're going to return. So we're going to return, what do we have to return? An iterator, a new iterator, but we're not going to call it iterator. We need to have a special type of iterator. No, we're going to call it an array set iterator. Because that's what we want. We want an array set iterator. And we're about to do it. Not only can we will. Okay. Now what do we need to write? An array set iterator. Public. What are we returning out of our array set iterator? We're returning. Okay. What do we think? Public. Are we returning T? Well, if I'm returning array set iterator, if I return an array set iterator here, what does an array set iterator have to be? An iterator. Public iterator. It is weird. Array set iterator. And what do we think we got to do here? This gets a little funky.
Type T in the method.
Public iterator, raw use. Yep, we need a public iterator. Oops, T. Array set iterator. And where do we? So this is all so far so good. That cleared up this problem up here, right? This is obviously we're not quite done here. Wait, array set iterator. Did I spell it right? Okay. And what do we need to have working in this thing? Well, we're going to implement here iterator T. Okay. So this thing is actually going to be, this is actually not, because we're throwing a new array set iterator. What type of thing is array set iterator actually? If it's a new one? It can be a class. Okay. And our array set iterator is going to implement capital I iterator. There's where our T is going to go.
Right, if with the records from.
You got it. And if we think about our little wizard guy, okay, what do we think we need to keep track of with our wizard? His position. Yep. So we're going to have an instance variable int position. We're going to have a public arrays iterator. Okay.
Make position 0 to start with.
We do want to make position 0. Yep. We want to start at the 0 position. Right. And that's really all we need to do. And then we just need to implement our two methods. Okay. So position, oops, equals 0. And then inside of our class, what are our two methods that we need to have? Public, what type of things has next going to be? Someone else? Boolean. Whoops, I just did something really weird and I don't want to do that. Go back. Public, Boolean, has next. Okay. And let's just write out our method headers first so you can get through this. And what's our other one? Public. And is it going to be an int? Yeah. T, we want it to be a T. We're going to return a T because if we're not using ints, right, we want to make sure that whatever our has next is, grabs that next thing. Next. Cool. Now we got our method signatures. What do we think we want to do with has next? We go back to our little guy here. I don't want to give it away. How do we know if we have a next? He's at 0, right? He's at 0.
If the position is less than 5.
Boom. That's our has next. If position less than size, we'll make it the method. What? Return true. We have next if we have that. Right? Boom. Yes? Why doesn't like my if statement? If can be simplified. Right. How can I simplify this? Yeah, that would be simple. There we go. Okay. And then what do we want to do with next?
If has next.
I return the name, like the element.
How do I do that?
We do like ARR,
If has next with
ARR,
position plus 5.
POS.
Plus 1.
No, it's just wait, it returns
If we think about our little guy, what is he returning?
at that.
If he's at 0, he wants to return 0. Okay. What we're missing a step. He needs to move. And I can't do that after I've returned something.
So like, well, just like pause plus,
Wait.
and then
We need
array
if
return
has next.
plus.
You're all talking. Mary, what were you going to say? You started talking first. How would I store it? Yep. What? P. I just call it return just because I like to do that. Equals that. Then what? Pause plus plus. Pause plus plus. And then return. Return. Jackie, is there an easier way to do that?
Yeah.
What?
Just return array and then in a bracket, false plus plus.
Yeah, so this is going to be easier to understand code for you and for me and for most readers. But we can actually do what I think Tony was saying this as well, maybe, is you can do this. Okay, and what this does is it returns the thing at position and then increments it. So this is just a shorthand for the 3 lines we just wrote.
So the way it works is it doesn't increment first, but it returns first, so returning takes priority over incrementing.
As ready for this, just to sort of twist everything a little bit more, you can put the plus plus first and then it does it the other way. You can do plus plus pause. Okay,
Like in the square bracket.
in the square brackets, it'll increment it and then return it. Of course, that's not what we want to do in this case, but you will see code that occasionally will do that.
It's kind of weird.
It is kind of weird. But that's what it's doing, right? So Java says, okay, what I'm doing is I'm grabbing this number, right? I'm going to return that number, but then I'm going to increment position all in the same step. Okay. Cool. All right, let's look at this sucker. We have public class array set iterator implements iterator T. We've got an iterator method up here. Method iterator is never used. All right, now we're going to come down here. We're going to, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get rid of this for, because we don't really care about our set anymore. I'll be honest, I'm just going to be silly and grab this whole code. Should I make us write it out again? Yeah, sure, let's write it out again. Okay, so we're going to do this for our, we're going to go here, we're going to go here. How do we do ugly iteration? We're going to do it for our array set now.
Iterator.
Iterator.
Right.
This is string, so string. But now I gotta be a little, I gotta think through this because now do I really need that? I don't want an iterator. What do I want? I just went through this whole rigmarole of creating this whole new class. I want an array set iterator, right? So let's create an array set iterator of what? Strings. Now we're going to put string in here. Come on. There we go. Array set ASI. Okay. Equals new array set iterator. Okay. What does that do for me?
It doesn't have parameters in the.
Well, I don't have parameters in my in here, right? Okay, so now what I want to do is what? We got 5 minutes to figure this out. We're going to come back down here. Okay. How so? How are we going to do this? So how are we going to build a for each loop with this ASI thing? Well, we got to make it ugly iteration. We're still doing this down here.
So,
While
ASI,
okay.
then
String x star, oh no, x equals. And
Okay. Like that? What's the problem here?
We're giving it a T, right?
Well,
a T back.
I'm getting a T back.
passes.
Let's just try this. Because we have our array, right? What if we just pass in our array dot has next, string s equals array dot next, and then print that thing? Doesn't like that, right?
I think on line 38, you have to add like another, the triangle bracket at the end.
Down here? Okay. Doesn't really like that either. What's that? Array set still doesn't have a next, because where's our has next?
Erase it.
Ah, sorry, what? Array set iterator does,
Erase it, does.
right? But we're having trouble figuring out how to implement that thing. Right?
This is the main method, you can't access like a class, you can't access like variables in the class in static method.
Well, we have this, right? This iterator.
Yeah, that iterator is the class. and you-
So if we come back down here, don't we have this? Yeah, we do now. So we are going to grab this. Whoops. We'll put that back for right now. We're actually going to cut it. All right. We're going to grab this. We're going to come back up here. We're going to just override all of this, right? Because we have an iterator. We created a class up here, right? That returns an array set iterator, and that's our public iterator. So we have an iterator method inside of our class. So now we're going to use this seer. And instead of doing set, we're going to do array dot iterator because we want it to be an array iterator. Change variable seer to set. Why do I have another seer?
Strings, right?
Let's say, oh, yeah, we need to have string. Thank you. So our seer is a string method. This has to be a string. And when we run it, we get this is a woohoo, we just created ugly iteration. Because now we have this iterator, we have an iterator method in here. We create an iterator. We're supporting that all up here with our array set iterator class and our iterator method. Yeeks.
A lot of saying iterate.
That's a lot of saying iterator. Oh, wait, it gets even better in a second here. Okay. Does this make sense? Sort of. Okay. Do we understand how we did this, right? We implemented this iterator method. Okay. And that's what we're using right here. Iterator string. We create an object. It equals a new array iterator. Okay.
When we build a class, we can implement a method for that class, like what we did with the array set iterator, we implement iterator, the method.
Yep.
So
It returns an iterator, right? So if you think about what we did here, we go through the steps. We've got an iterator method. It returns an iterator.
Yeah.
Okay. But to do that, we need to have this class, internal class that implements iterator,
the method,
the interface. This is an interface.
but if we have public, oh,
Public class, array set iterator implements iterator. This is the interface.
is that what we just built, or is it Java's?
This is Java's
Okay.
iterator interface. So now we're like basically after today, we're dealing only with Java once you guys get through our project 1C, okay? So this iterator interface is not one we built. It is the built-in Java, okay? In here, we implemented our has next and next methods, okay? So then when we come down here into our main method, right, we create this iterator, which has the method. And then when we call seer.hasNext, we have next, we can print it out. We've got ugly iteration. Yes? Okay. Should we hold on to the big surprise ending for next class? Class is over, so. Yeah, we'll make this. You can go ahead and try to do your for each loop. Try to re-implement your for each loop here and see what happens. And you will see that it's still failing. So we have one last step to make that work. Okay, it's still going to tell us that, hey, we're still getting the exact same error method. We can do our ugly for each loop. We can't do our nice for each loop just yet. There's one last thing we need to do to get that to work. Okay, and actually, do we want to just do it in 30 seconds? What does it say we need to do? Required java.lang.iterable. And we'll hold on to the secret for next class. We got to get iterable in there. So now we have iterators, just like we had comparable, comparables, and comparator. We've got iterables and iterators, but I'll finish that up next class and we'll review this just to make sure everyone's on the same page because we went a little fast there at the end.
We try to do it, or?
How about it? Sure. It's literally like 2 words. 2 words. 2 words gets you the answer. How about it? See you guys. Have a great weekend.
Wait, is iterable an object?
Iterable? We'll look at it next class. I'm gonna find the actual Java code. It's not an object. I mean, is it an object? Is it a class? Is it an interface? Yes. Yep. For the iterator here, yeah. Again, we went kind of fast through that. So we should have a public iterator. We're returning a new array set iterator. Make sure we are returning a new object.
Thank you.
Public class array set iterator implements iterator T. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Position. We've got our constructor that sets it equal 0. Next is position of less than size. Next is, and make sure the next is returning a T. Array position plus 1.
Oh, thank you. Good luck.
If you also scroll down a little bit.
Thank you, Mr.
Yep. Have a great day. So we just need to make sure we change this to string and this to string was the other piece.
Thank you.
Yep.
My minutes.
Oh, shit. Like what? I want to say have a good weekend, but I don't get to say that yet. Not for a few minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I go to class next.
I'm teaching ethics this year.
Oh,
So yeah. So that's fun.
nice.
It's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that one wasn't as exciting for you, but I'm glad, it's great to have you in here, because having you like sort of help out with debugging and stuff like that. Because if I take 10 minutes to try and debug a program that,
yeah.
it's awesome to, so,
No, the class, I
Appreciate it.
was just notified that we lost the math competition and I was.
oh no.
Find out what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's, to be honest, I suspect the other team. Like, there's this guy who got a 3 out of 3 the previous week, and
Okay.
this time they got a 7 out of 7. And for the previous like 5 matches, they didn't show up, and I'm kind of like, what is wrong with this kid?
Huh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm just talking to his job to see if their result is valid.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but
Can you cheat? I mean, is it possible to cheat on it?
it's an online one. I mean, I feel like you could look things up, you could graph things out, like is that Desmo or something?
Oh, gotcha, which you're not supposed to use, but you could be doing it if,
Exactly.
gotcha. Okay.
But, you know, even if we lost, there's.
Is it head to head then? Is it like one school against another in this?
Yeah, it's like we play each round and it's elimination.
Okay.
We lose, like,
That's it?
yeah, this is gonna qualify us for the final.
Okay,
Also, like both teams got 32, we got 32, they got 32.
yeah,
And then one of their score is 7 out of 7, and I look at that guy's profile. The previous week he got 3 out of 3. I mean, it's ridiculous.
yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha. Huh.
Yeah.
That's too bad, but hopefully. Yeah,
Next time, should I stand maybe or sit in a back so that I can just walk around to help you?
sure, you're welcome. I mean, you're welcome to just sort of walk around too, or you sit typically what I would do is to sit, you can take like that desk right there at the front and then just sort of walk around and help people as they,
Sure.
yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend.